Today we will look at buying the dip and dollar cost averaging and figure out which will make you the most money for your investing buck. Holy banana bread, let's do this! As a new investor, you'll hear a lot of YouTubers telling you to either buy the dip or DCA into your investments. Buying the dip is simply buying the stock when it is down, or it is taking a dip from its normal price trajectory. DCA or dollar cost averaging is to buy a stock on a regular schedule, regardless of whether the price is up, down, or somewhere in between. Which strategy is better? You'll find people who are die-hard fans of either strategy, which can make it harder to figure out just which one is the better selection. When it comes to opinions surrounding investments, I am always going to side with the math. Before we geek out on some numbers, tell me in the comments if you are team buy the dip or team DCA. I am always grateful when you drop in on the home of free financial content on YouTube. While you are here, please subscribe as you don't want to miss a single moment. And a huge thank you for that click. We are going to start off with buying the dip. With this strategy, you are trying to buy low so that you will get more value when that stock appreciates. Right off the bat, there is a problem, and that is, how do you know when you are in the dip? Timing the market is never easy, and more likely closer to impossible when you first start off. For those seasoned investors, it is actually not that much better. Seeing that finding the dip is very hard, many buy the dippers will instead look at percentages. They may buy their dip when the price falls 10%, or some will even hold out for 20 or 30%. However, we will work with 10% for the examples and the comparison we're going to do here today. Dollar cost averaging is a method where you decide on a time frame and an amount to invest when you go about doing just that, despite the market conditions. For example, you may want to buy $100 of stock A once a month on the first. So the first of every month, or maybe the second or third if the first falls on a weekend, you buy $100 of that stock. It may be up or down, it doesn't really matter. The concept of the DCA approach is that over time, your buys will create an average buy that very closely resembles the average price for that stock. Surely, buying in those dips must be better than the average, right? A famous investor by the name of Warren Buffett has said time and again that time in the market is more valuable than timing the market. In other words, the attempt to hit these dips can actually result in a higher average price than dollar cost averaging. Of course, it's all easy for me to just say that. I think we need an example. For this example, we're going to be buying some of our favorite Banana Co. fictional stock. We will set a budget of $1,200, and in the buy the dip scenario, we will look for 2 entry points in which we will spend $600 at each of them. The first will be in the first half of the year, and then the second will be in the second half. We will use the 10% drop method to find our dips. For that DCA buyer, they will simply, well, you guessed it, buy $100 a month on the first of every month during that full year. In our year period, Banana Co. has done okay, as their price entered the year just shy of $5, and they closed that year around $7.50. So you kind of got the idea of the range that we're working with. So our buy the dip person enters that year and patiently waits for the first dip. And in month 4, they get it. They have no idea that Banana Co. is about to drop almost 30%. So they buy 10% down and get 102 shares. In the second half of the year, they once again wait for their dip, and they get it towards the end of month 8. Once again, they missed the actual dip as it went further. It is very hard to hit the dip dead on. In this case, they bought another 83 shares, so the buy the dipper ends the year with 185 shares of Banana Co. Our DCA-focused investor moves in and spends $100 every month, picking up anywhere from 13 to 21 shares each month. They have some low buys, they have some high buys, and they have some buys that are somewhere in the middle of the road. When we add all of the shares they bought with the same budget that the buy the dip investor had, they end up with 192 shares. Holy banana bread, that is pretty significant. You can argue that if the buy the dip investor had hit the dips dead on, they would win the challenge. That is 100% true, as they would have had 213 shares if that had happened. Unfortunately, for that to be the case, they would need to be very lucky indeed. A 20% dip scenario would have worked better here, but if the drop reversed before 20%, 100%. It could have also been a disaster. Math and probability easily give the winner to dollar cost averaging. Clearly, it is, in most cases, the best way to walk away with a bigger piece of the pie in the end. This does not mean that buy the dip is dead by any means. Once you have your DCA strategy in place and you just happen to have some extra money when the market is down, by all means, buy that dip. You may be thinking that in a bear market with an overall downtrend, buying the dip has to have an advantage. It will do better than in a bull market 100%. However, even in a bear market, the prices are still ranging up and down, and you are still in a timing of the market scenario. Thus, dollar cost averaging is going to give you better results. Once you become a little more seasoned, you will do a little better at timing the market, but even if you improve those odds of getting closer to the true dip, DCAing is still that safe, no-worry approach that does not care about the odds, or how much you know, or if you have a horseshoe in a place I won't mention. It simply keeps you in the long-term average, which produces those long-term greater than average returns for your investing buck. With all that we have said here today in regards to DCA being the better choice, there are cases where for an advanced trader, buying the dip could actually be more profitable. This usually involves multiple stocks where they're selling at the top and buying other stocks at the bottom, basically buying the dip in that method. It still requires a lot of extra skill, particularly in technical analysis, and it is not something for the new investor. For a new investor, simply stick with dollar cost averaging. If it makes sense sometime in the future after you've got a new set of skills to help back up your decisions, maybe then you might want to revisit buying the dip. The fun does not have to end here. Check out my video on Canoe that I will link on the left. Otherwise, check out the video on the right that YouTube thinks you will like. Your click will decide who was right, and I will see you in the next video.